They are almost finished seating people in the auditorium, believe it or not. So my prerogative is that I will start the meeting now. People filing in will pick it up as and where we are at the time. So, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you, congratulate all of you, and particularly thank you for your patience. This is more than was anticipated, but you've been gracious in going along with it. First order on my list is cell phones. I do expect that there will be some people that would like to speak. There's nothing worse than being interrupted by the ring of a cell phone. So if you could all turn them off, I'd appreciate it. Second, we know that during... All right, also if you can get off the Wi-Fi, it will help streaming into the auditorium. But we found out after town meeting that there were non-voters who actually were present and voted. And I can't imagine that that is the case right now, but if there are any non-voters, non-registered voters in the town of Stowe, would they please raise their hand? Thank you. All right. I'd ask all who are able to stand and will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And it's a good foundational jumping off point to explain the town meeting process. Much of it is driven by Robert's Rules of Order. Some of it is driven by state statute. This body, by a vote, can amend almost anything to do with Robert's Rules of Order. Cannot change the state statute. So, what is town meeting? It's where we all come together. You have the opportunity to vote on the issue that is presented on the warning. And that is done by initially voice vote, and that is required by state statute. We can't work around that. I would like to, because I think we all know that we're going to end up with a paper ballot vote tonight. It would be more efficient if we could go directly to that, but we cannot. We have to have the voice vote first. After the voice vote, I will announce my take on which side prevailed. Undoubtedly, some will challenge that. If 7 people challenge that, we go to a paper ballot. That's what will happen. We will vote, and it'll be done. But in the meantime, persons have a right to speak. And with any meeting that's governed by Robert's Rules of Order, as this is, there's a part of it called Orders of the Day, where you can change some of the requirements of Roberts. Roberts allows each person who chooses to speak to limit their speech to 10 minutes. Okay? So unless I hear an objection, I would propose to limit each person's speaking time to 2 minutes. Thank you. The issue that we will be talking about, you all know what it is, but I think it bears a little bit of explanation. The article as warned is all that can be discussed and voted upon. Some articles can be amended. For example, if we were voting on buying a fire engine for $100 versus $300 versus $250, all those amendments would be germane. But with an article like this, it's an up and down vote. So any amendment or attempt to amend it would be out of order. So if anyone has thoughts about amending this and getting into a discussion and vote on the amendment, know in advance that I would rule that it's out of order and no further proceeding on it. So this article asks, shall the voters rescind? What that means is if you vote in the affirmative, if you vote aye or yes, the ordinance dies, ends here. If you want the ordinance to survive this meeting, you vote no when it comes time to vote. So, that said, I'd like to address a few remarks to all of you, and I include myself in that, because yet have I seen the town of Stowe so divided as it is now, and yet have I heard invective so prevalent as I have heard in recent weeks, and so personal. And yet have I found the need to hope for healing as I do now. We are still a community. We all have a lot more in common than divides us. And I've not seen an issue yet that could not be resolved without rancor when it's approached with civil discourse. You know, and you can look at it, some are liberals who think, well, why should we be locked into old, comfortable patterns? And then you have some who are conservatives who say, well, we should because they're old and comfortable. And none of that matters at this point. You know, this is, it's about how we want our town to be going forward. And we're all familiar with the idea of the concept of bias confirmation, where no amount of provable facts will change our beliefs. But it's always worth listening to others. And we think about town meeting, the solutions don't always come from the brightest of the people. Oftentimes, someone with the most common sense, which ain't so common anymore, prevails. So it's worth listening. And I will quote a famous Irishman who once said, there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And that's wise counsel. That was Patrick Henry Quinlan, my grandfather. He used to tell me that all the time. So here we are at town meeting, and it's the perfect venue, provide the opportunity to address, debate, resolve the issue with civil discourse. So I hope that in the meeting, we will not approach it with an I'm right, you're wrong attitude, or I win, you lose. Rather, I would like each of us to realize that you are evaluating and determining how you want your town to be, and in doing so, listen to those who might hold opposing views. We might learn something from the other. Because so often when we think we're listening, here's the other point my grandfather made, so often when we think we are listening, we're not. We're just waiting for our turn to speak, and there's a big difference. And we are a community, and as such, we share much. And I would ask that now and in the future, that we are able to mend our differences, compassion, understanding that others have their position, empathy, understanding, and putting yourself in the other person's shoes, but also basic kindness. So if there are persons who are going to speak tonight, treat them kindly and gently. Now, you can see what has gone on to accommodate this meeting. So I think there is a great deal of appreciation to be shown to the town clerk's office and staff, to the town manager and their staff, and even in a competitive sense to the great and good people at People's Academy, because they are the ones who brought the chairs down and set them up. And finally, Peter, who set up all of the instrumentation here. And then we have Mia and Tim, who are from the Green Mountain Tech. They're the ones that are doing all the video. So at this point, we are all stars of closed-circuit TV. How's that? Now, there are select board members here. This is not a select board-driven meeting, so they will not be assembled as the board. They are present. They will not take questions and speak on behalf of the board. We have the town manager, Charles Safford, is here. Likewise, will not take questions about the ordinance or about the vote. And Joe McLean, town council, is here. He will not take questions either. Now, the logistics are that we have 2 microphones here. And in order to frame a balance in the debate to the extent that it occurs, what I'd like to do is alternate and have speakers, one speak for, and the next speaker will speak against the vote. And that's what the 2 microphones are for. So people that want to speak can simply get up in a line, come up, stand behind the microphone. I will recognize you. I will ask that you recite your name for the record. You can then speak, and you will have 2 minutes. And I have my timer from the oven here, so I will time you. It's difficult, not knowing what people's positions are, to have a balanced debate just by the raise of hands, and that's why we did it this way. So, that said, let's get to the Robert's Rules of Order, what we need to do. Talking about one thing is the so-called call the question, because there seemed to be some confusion in people's minds about what that is. There is a long-standing tradition, and it's codified in Robert's Rules of Order, that one can call the question or call the previous question, either way. When that is done, it ends debate at that point. There is a vote on whether we want to call the question. It takes a 2/3 majority to end the debate. If 2/3 prevail and the debate is ended, we go immediately to a vote, a voice vote. Well, you might. You might. You might catch breakfast on the way as well. But state statute requires that we have a voice vote first. We can't change that. So in order to move to end the debate, call the question, you must be recognized. So the idea of just shouting out, call the question, is not going to work. Once the voice vote is done, any one person can call for a division of the House. What that would mean is that those in favor would stand and be counted, those against would stand and be counted and then tabulated. Or any 7 people collectively can stand and request that we go to a paper ballot. In that case, we will go to the paper ballot. We have no choice. In either case, we have no choice. So if the paper ballot process, which it will, is what will be the order of the day, they will, you all will, not they, you will then go out, check back in, put your ballot in the box, and you're free to go home at that point and have dinner or breakfast, as the case may be, Marion. All motions and remarks should be directed to me. I'll try to answer them as best I can. I cannot give legal advice. I cannot give you any opinion or information regarding the ordinance. That's beyond my authority. So, that said, will somebody, oh, by the way, one last thing. Penny, our town clerk, has asked that If any of you are still standing and not suffering from famine at the end of the meeting, if you might stay and help fold the chairs. There are a lot of them. So, that said, let's get to the business at hand. The legal voters of the Town of Stowe are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Stowe High School Auditorium on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. for a special meeting to vote from the floor upon the following petition for article. Article 1, shall the voters rescind the Stowe Short-Term Rental Registry Ordinance adopted February 29th, 2024? Is there somebody who would move Article 1? And your name, please, for the record. Joe Sable Courtney. Is there a second? Your name, please. Josie Keitel, seconded. Now, anybody who would like to speak, just get in line. Those who would speak for the repeal or rescinding, come up to my right. Those who would like to speak against rescission, come to the left-hand microphone. Now, don't rush. We don't want anybody injured.
It's not on. Oh, it's on. My legal name is Emily Rosenbaum. I go by Emily Lev. There are a lot of people here with small children, people who have jobs tomorrow. I call the question.
Surprise, surprise. Never fails. So that requires approval of 2/3 of the voters present. All in favor of calling the question, aye? Aye. Are there any opposed? All right. So now what is required, because we have people in the auditorium as well, this is going to be a trick, but in one sense it's procedural only. I'll take a voice vote here, go in there, take a voice vote, and make my judgment as to which side prevails, after which somebody will undoubtedly object and ask for a paper ballot. But we have to do it, state statute requires it. So, now, Article 1, and I want to reiterate, if you vote aye or yes, you're voting to rescind. If you want the ordinance to survive, you vote no. Any questions about that? All right. All those in favor of Article 1, that is to rescind the Stowe Short-Term Rental Registry Ordinance adopted February 29th, 2024, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Pretty close in my mind. All right, now let me adjourn to the auditorium and I'll go through the same practice, then come back and we'll move on from there. Hello? Having taken a voice vote in both rooms, it's nearly impossible to tell, but I have to make a call, and I would say that the ayes had it. So, are there 7 people? All right. And is it your province to go to a paper ballot? Yes. All right. Be done. So now the people at the tables take over. The Board of Civil Authority, the staff from the Town Clerk's Office and dedicated volunteers have completed the unofficial count. 675 votes cast, 240 in favor, 435 against. Article 1 fails. Meeting is adjourned.